Let's be honest, the PS5 has a metric ton of games, and most of them are garbage. So how are you supposed to find the one game that's actually worth your time, and more importantly, your hard-earned money? Forget scrolling through the PlayStation Store for hours like a zombie. We did the work for you. We played the games, we fought about them, we bled for this list, and this is the result. The absolute, undisputed, definitive list of the 20 best single-player journeys you can fire up on your PS5 right now. Your next obsession is on this list. End of discussion. We're starting with a certified banger, a game that was criminally underrated on the PS4 but was given a glorious second life, a resurrection, on the PlayStation 5. At number 20, it's Days Gone. Set in the absolutely stunning yet utterly lethal wilderness of post-apocalyptic Oregon, you are Deacon St. John. He's a biker, a bounty hunter, and a man running from his own ghosts in a world gone straight to hell. And I know what you're thinking. Oh great, another zombie game. No, wrong. Yeah, put that thought in the garbage. What sets Days Gone apart, what makes it a legend, is one word: horde. I am not talking about a handful of shambling corpses. I am not talking about 20 enemies on screen. I am talking about a literal, flowing, screeching tidal wave of hundreds of freakers moving as one cohesive, terrifying organism. The first time you stumble upon a full-blown horde, your blood will turn to ice. It is a moment of pure, primal terror. Now, your only option is to run like hell or get smart. And on PS5? Forget about it. The performance patch is a complete game changer, locking this beast to a rock-solid 60 frames per second that makes gunplay, riding, and yes, desperately mowing down an ocean of freakers feel incredibly fluid and responsive. The DualSense yanks you in, letting you feel the brutal kick of your custom shotgun and the guttural roar of Deacon's bike. The story takes its time, sure, but it builds into a raw, gritty, and surprisingly human narrative about what it means to keep fighting when you've lost everything. For the sheer, unadulterated thrill of facing down a monster tsunami and living to tell the tale, Days Gone is an absolute must-play. At number 19 is the game that is already on your console, and I swear if you have slept on this, you are committing a cardinal gaming sin. I'm talking about Astro's Playroom. Calling this a pack-in game is the understatement of the century. This isn't some throwaway tech demo, it is a declaration of intent. It's a vibrant, masterfully designed, and profoundly joyful love letter to the entire history of PlayStation, and it's wrapped in one of the most creative 3D platformers ever conceived. You're Astro Bot, this adorable little hero, exploring a digital wonderland made of PlayStation hardware. But here's the magic, here's the secret sauce. Astro's Playroom is the definitive showcase for the DualSense controller, and it is anything but a gimmick. This is the future. You will feel the delicate pitter-patter of raindrops through the haptics. You'll feel the taut resistance in the adaptive triggers as you pull back a bow. You'll feel the gritty crunch of sand, the slickness of ice, like the metallic clank of walking on steel. Every single surface, every interaction, has a distinct, tangible texture that makes this world feel real in your hands. The game is a masterclass in variety, constantly introducing new mechanics that are intrinsically tied to the controller's functions. From a climbing monkey suit to a rocket ship, it will plaster a stupid, goofy grin on your face from beginning to end. And it is the single best way to understand the magic that makes this console truly next-gen. Play it, that's an order. Alright, buckle up, because we're taking a hard left turn into pure, uncut nightmare fuel. At number 18 is Returnal, a game that poses a simple, terrifying question. What if your own personal hell was a planet that refused to let you go? This is a third-person, roguelike, bullet hell shooter that is as beautiful as it is soul-crushingly difficult. You are Celine, a deep space scout who crash lands on the hostile, ever-shifting world of Atropos. And here's the hook. Every time you die, the entire planet reconfigures itself, the cycle breaks, and you wake up right back at your crashed ship to begin the torment all over again. But this isn't just a cheap gameplay gimmick. It is the entire narrative. With each death, with each new cycle, you uncover more of the planet's cryptic lore and, more terrifyingly, the fractured pieces of Celine's own psyche. The gameplay is white-knuckle, lightning fast, and it demands perfection. You'll be dashing through kaleidoscopic storms of glowing projectiles, grappling across impossible gaps, and unloading bizarre alien weapons on some of the most grotesque creature designs in gaming. The PS5's 3D audio is a literal lifesaver here. letting you pinpoint threats from above, behind, and below. The DualSense integration is genius. Feeling the subtle patter of alien rain on your suit through the haptics is an incredible touch. And the dual-function adaptive triggers, a half press to aim down sights, a full press to activate your weapon's alt-fire, is a mechanic that every shooter should steal immediately. Returnal is not for tourists. It will break your spirit. It will test your patience. But if you can push through the pain, it offers one of the most rewarding, profound, and unforgettable gameplay highs on the entire console. Slapping its way onto the list at number 17 is the bloody, bombastic, and unapologetically badass Evil West. Look, forget your high-minded narratives, your complex moral choices, and your emotional character arcs for a minute. This game is about one thing and one thing only: punching vampires so hard they detonate in a shower of gore. It is a glorious, full-throated roar back to the golden age of AA action games, a third-person adrenaline shot that is all about pure, visceral, over-the-top combat. You are Jesse Rentier, a top agent for a secret vampire-slaying organization fighting to save the American frontier. And what does that mean in practice? It means you have a lightning-charged super gauntlet that lets you launch monsters into the air, juggle them with a hail of revolver fire, and then smash them back into the dirt like a meteor. The combat system is a pure, unadulterated power fantasy, seamlessly blending brutal melee combos with devastating gunplay that actively encourages you to get in the enemy's face and stay there. The DualSense makes every bone-crunching punch and every thunderous shotgun blast feel absolutely cataclysmic. Evil West knows exactly what it wants to be: a loud, dumb, and absurdly fun roller coaster. The story is pure pulp fiction, cowboys versus an army of supernatural freaks. And it's a focused, linear, no-filler adventure that delivers non-stop, a glorious action. If you're looking for a game to just switch your brain off and indulge in some of the most outrageously satisfying combat on the PS5, Evil West isn't just a suggestion, it's a prescription. At number 16, we have a game that took a legendary franchise, threw its core identity into a wood chipper, and came out the other side with a modern masterpiece. I'm talking about Yakuza, Like a Dragon. For over a decade, the Yakuza series was the king of real-time, beat-em-up combat. This game looked at that legacy, said, "Thank you, next," and transformed itself into a full-blown, turn-based JRPG. It was an act of absolute madness, and it was brilliant. You play as the unforgettable Ichiban Kasuga, a low-level Yakuza who takes the fall for a crime he didn't commit, only to be betrayed and left for dead. But Ichiban isn't your typical stoic anti-hero. He's a lovable, goofy, optimistic bulldog with a heart of gold and a heroic spirit, fueled by his obsession with the Dragon Quest games. This framing is pure genius. The world is seen through Ichiban's RPG-addled brain, so regular street thugs morph into bizarre, fantastical enemies. Your party's special abilities are over-the-top, cinematic spectacles, like summoning a storm of pigeons to peck your foes into submission. But lurking just beneath all that absurdity is one of the most gripping, shocking, and deeply emotional crime sagas you will ever play. The story will give you emotional whiplash, swinging from laugh-out-loud funny to gut-wrenchingly tragic at a moment's notice. The world is dense and packed with incredible side activities, each from running a business empire to go-kart racing. Yakuza, Like a Dragon, is a powerful, profound story about friendship and hitting rock bottom, only to claw your way back up. It's a game that will make you laugh until you cry, and then cry for real. It's a triumph. Number 15 isn't just one game. It's an entire saga. It's three of the most cinematic and thrilling action-adventure games of the last decade, all playable in their best form on the PS5, the modern Tomb Raider trilogy. This is the complete, definitive origin story of an icon, Lara Croft. This is the journey that takes her from a terrified, shipwrecked student and forges her in fire, transforming her into the globe-trotting, tomb-raiding legend we know and love. It all kicks off with Tomb Raider 2013, a raw, brutal survival story that's less about treasure and more about staying alive. Then, Rise of the Tomb Raider blows the doors off, expanding the world with massive, intricate hub worlds and even more elaborate puzzle-filled tombs. And finally, Shadow of the Tomb Raider concludes the origin story with a dark, intense finale where Lara must confront the consequences of her actions as she races to stop a Mayan apocalypse. Playing these games back-to-back on PS5 is the only way to do it. The performance is silky smooth and the load times are practically non-existent. But the real strength is the perfect blend of high-octane, cinematic firefights, satisfying exploration, and genuinely clever environmental puzzles. One minute you're in a desperate cover-based shootout, and the next you're quietly deciphering an ancient mechanism in a forgotten temple. This is a journey that sees a character evolve from a victim of circumstance into the master of her own damn destiny. If you somehow miss this incredible trilogy, you have a duty to fix that mistake right now. Swooping in at number 14 is one of the most eye-meltingly gorgeous open-world games ever conceived, Horizon Forbidden West. Guerrilla Games took the rock-solid foundation of Zero Dawn and amplified it in every conceivable way, creating a sequel that is bigger, deeper, and just staggeringly beautiful. You are once again Aloy, the fierce and brilliant machine hunter, venturing into the titular Forbidden West to find a cure for a world-ending plague. And let me be clear, the world itself is the main character here. From the turquoise waters and sun-bleached sands of the coast to the glittering, dilapidated ruins of Las Vegas, every single biome is crafted with a level of detail that is simply astonishing. This is a true graphical flex for the PS5, but A Beautiful World is an empty postcard without great gameplay, and Forbidden West delivers in spades. The combat against the massive, awe-inspiring robotic creatures is more fluid and strategic than ever, with an expanded toolkit, like the incredible Shield Wing glider, that adds a whole new dimension of verticality and strategy to every single encounter. The blockbuster set pieces are on a scale that will leave you breathless, but it's not all spectacle. Aloy's journey is also a deeply personal one, exploring the immense pressure of being the world's only hope and the struggle of learning to let others in. For anyone who craves a gigantic, lush world overflowing with secrets to discover and magnificent monsters to hunt, Horizon Forbidden West is an absolute all-you-can-eat buffet. At number 13 is a game that will slap you in the face, kick you down the stairs, and then dare you to get back up. It is a brutal, stylish, and masterful tribute to classic martial arts cinema, Sifu. Let me be perfectly clear, this game will break you. It is a pure, concentrated test of skill, patience, and perseverance. You are a young martial arts student on a singular path of vengeance against the 5 assassins who murdered your family. And here is the genius. Soul-crushing hook. You have a magical talisman that resurrects you every time you fall in battle. The catch? Each time you get up, you age several years. You might start a level as a nimble 20-year-old, but after a few brutal beatdowns, you'll be a 40-year-old glass cannon whose strikes are more powerful, but whose body can't take the same punishment. Age too much, and your quest for revenge ends in permanent failure. This system creates an unbelievable tension, forcing you, demanding you, to learn, adapt, and strive for nothing less than perfection. The combat is an intricate ballet of parries, dodges, and hundreds of devastating combos that feels ripped straight from the best kung fu movies ever made. Every single enemy is a threat. Every room is a puzzle of violence. You'll be kicking chairs into thugs, smashing bottles over heads, and throwing goons over railings. Sifu demands mastery, but let me tell you, the feeling of finally clearing a tough room without taking a single hit, of flowing between enemies like a true kung fu god, is one of the most sublime and rewarding feelings in the history of video games. Taking our number 12 spot is a game that looked at one of the most beloved fairy tales and twisted it into a grim, gothic, and absolutely brilliant Souls-like masterpiece, Lies of P. Throw that Disney version in the trash. This is a dark, brutal retelling of Pinocchio set in the nightmarish, Belle Epoque-inspired city of Krat, a city that has completely collapsed under a robot uprising. You are P, a unique puppet created by Geppetto, and you are the city's last hope. Yeah, from the second you set foot on the rain-drenched, blood-soaked streets of Krat, the game's biggest inspiration wears its heart on its sleeve. This is a love letter to Bloodborne. The atmosphere is dripping with dread. The enemy design is fantastically twisted, and the combat is a fast, aggressive, and incredibly precise dance of death. But don't you dare call this a clone. Lies of P brings a ton of its own brilliant ideas to the table, most notably the weapon assembly system, which allows you to mix and match different blades and handles to create a truly bespoke instrument of destruction. It's a system so deep you could lose hours just theory crafting the perfect weapon. The game also introduces a lying system, where the choices you make between telling the truth or lying have a real tangible impact on the story, your interactions, and your own evolving humanity. Stop begging for a Bloodborne port and play this. Lies of P is a stunning, confident achievement, a dark, demanding, and utterly unforgettable dive into a mechanical hellscape. At number 11, we have a game that is less a single horror experience and more a full-blown theme park of terror, a roller coaster that you will want to ride again and again. Resident Evil Village. Continuing the saga of Ethan Winters from Resident Evil 7, the story kicks off with his daughter being kidnapped, leading him to a remote, snow-covered village in Eastern Europe that makes the Baker family estate look like a summer cottage. This village is ruled by 4 insane, charismatic, and grotesque lords, and each one has their own custom-built domain of horror. You will stalk the opulent, gilded halls of Castle Dimitrescu. You will flee in pure, unarmed terror from the psychological torment of House Beneviento. You will fight for your life in a flooded, monster-infested reservoir, and you will battle mechanical abominations in a derelict factory straight out of a madman's fantasy. The sheer variety is breathtaking. One minute, it's a desperate, action-packed firefight. The next, it's pure survival horror with no weapons to save you. The PS5 supercharges the experience with jaw-dropping visuals and 3D audio that will have you whipping your head around at every distant growl and floorboard creak. The DualSense haptics are phenomenal, giving every single weapon a unique and satisfying kick. Resident Evil Village is a masterclass in pacing, an absolute thrill ride of terror and action. And let's be honest, it gave us the internet's favorite giant vampire mommy, Lady Dimitrescu, an instantly iconic villain for the ages. Alright, I want you to take every preconceived notion you have about what an RPG is, and I want you to throw it in the garbage. At number 10 is Disco Elysium, The Final Cut, a game that completely rewrites the rulebook. There is no combat in the traditional sense. You won't be swinging swords or casting fireballs. Your greatest weapon is your brain, and your most dangerous, relentless enemy is yourself. You awaken in a trashed hotel room with a hangover of apocalyptic proportions and a case of amnesia so total you don't even remember your own name. Turns out, you're a detective, and there's been a murder. How you solve it, or if you solve it at all, is completely and utterly up to you. Disco Elysium is a game about talking. You explore its beautifully melancholic, hand-painted world, interrogating a cast of unforgettable characters and constantly, relentlessly, battling the warring factions inside your own head. And that's the genius here. The skill system. Your 24 skills, ranging from logic and rhetoric to bizarre, abstract concepts like Inland Empire and Shivers, aren't just passive stats. They are characters. They have personalities. They talk to you. They argue with you. They offer terrible advice and brilliant insights. Your own thoughts become a chaotic chorus of voices, and navigating them is the core of the game. The Final Cut Edition adds full, masterful voice acting to every single line of the God-tier script, bringing this strange, sad world to life. This is a game that tackles dizzyingly complex themes of politics, philosophy, addiction, and failure with more wit, style, and raw humanity than almost any movie or novel. It is dense, it is demanding, and it is a profoundly rewarding experience for anyone who isn't afraid to think. Crashing onto this list with the force of Mjolnir itself at number 9 is an epic of truly mythological proportions, God of War Ragnarok. This is how you follow up a masterpiece. This is how you do a sequel. It takes every single element that made the 2018 reboot an instant classic. The deeply emotional story, the bone-shattering combat, the breathtaking world, and cranks it all up to 11, delivering a richer, more complex, and profoundly satisfying conclusion to the Norse saga. In the Fimbulwinter has come, and Ragnarok is on the horizon. Kratos and his now teenage son, Atreus, find themselves at the epicenter of a prophecy that threatens to tear the 9 realms apart. The heart of the game, once again, is the incredible relationship between father and son. But Atreus is not just boy anymore. He's a capable and conflicted young man, struggling with his own identity as Loki and his place in the coming war. And the combat? My God, the combat. It is absolutely, unequivocally brutal in the best way possible. The Leviathan axe and the Blades of Chaos return, feeling more visceral and devastating than ever before, thanks to the pitch-perfect feedback from the DualSense. The boss fights are bigger, more cinematic, and more awe-inspiring than anything that came before. But for all of its world-ending scale and spectacle, Ragnarok never, ever loses sight of its emotional core. This is a story about family, about fate, about love, and about the desperate struggle to break the cycles of violence that define us. It is a breathtaking, emotionally devastating masterpiece, and an absolute pinnacle of what this medium is capable of. At number 8, we have a game so beautiful it will make you weep. It is a reverent, breathtaking, and masterful love letter to classic samurai cinema, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Set during the 13th century Mongol invasion of Japan, you are Jin Sakai, one of the last surviving samurai on his home island. To save his people, he is forced to make an impossible choice: cling to the honorable code that has defined his entire life, or abandon it, embrace the shadows, and become the legendary Ghost. The island of Tsushima isn't just an open world, it's a painting come to life. A world of impossibly vibrant golden forests, windswept fields of pampas grass, and serene, mist-shrouded shrines. The director's cut on PS5 elevates this already gorgeous game into the stratosphere with a native 4K resolution, a locked 60 FPS frame rate, and incredible DualSense features that let you feel the tension of your bowstring and the iconic, definitive clash of samurai steel. The core gameplay is built around the central conflict within Jin. Will you challenge your enemies to an honorable face-to-face duel as the samurai? Or will you use fear, deception, and stealth as the Ghost? Both paths are fully developed and incredibly satisfying. This is a game that values quiet contemplation as much as it values conflict, letting you compose haikus or simply follow a golden bird to a hidden hot spring. The included Iki Island expansion adds a fantastic, deeply personal new chapter to Jin's story, and with a sequel all but guaranteed, there has never been a better time to dive into this incredible saga. Ghost of Tsushima is an immersive, unforgettable journey into a world of beauty, honor, and sacrifice. Coming in hot at number 7 is one of the most powerful, most divisive, and most masterfully crafted games ever made, now in its absolute definitive form. The Last of Us Part 2, Remastered. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not an easy game. This is not a fun game in the traditional sense. It is a relentless, harrowing, and unflinching examination of the destructive cycle of violence and the all-consuming nature of hatred. Set years after the first game's iconic ending, the story follows Ellie on a singular, brutal quest for revenge through the rain-slicked, overgrown ruins of Seattle. The narrative is deliberately challenging. It will make you uncomfortable. It will ask you questions you don't want to answer, and force you to confront perspectives you'd rather ignore. It is a narrative masterpiece that refuses to give you easy answers, and will haunt you for weeks after you put the controller down. The gameplay is the absolute perfection of Naughty Dog's design philosophy. A desperate, terrifying struggle for survival, where every bullet is a lifeline and every encounter is a nail-biting puzzle of stealth and violence. The PS5 remaster polishes the already stunning visuals to a mirror shine, adds incredible haptic feedback that makes you feel the tension of a bowstring and the impact of every punch, and, crucially, adds the brand new no-return roguelike survival mode, which is worth the price of admission alone. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a landmark achievement in interactive storytelling. It is emotionally draining, artistically brilliant, and an absolutely essential, non-negotiable PS5 experience. At number 6 is a brilliant, stylish, and ridiculously creative murder puzzle that comes disguised as a first-person shooter, Deathloop. This is from Arcane, the undisputed kings of the immersive sim, and it is a masterclass in level design and player freedom. You are Colt, a man stuck in a time loop on the retro-futuristic island of Black Reef, forced to live the same day over and over and over again. The only way to break the loop is to assassinate 8 key targets, the so-called visionaries, before the day resets at midnight. Here's the catch. They are scattered across 4 massive districts, each explorable at 4 different times of day. This isn't a linear shooter. It is a gigantic, interconnected clockwork puzzle. Each loop is a new opportunity. You're not just trying to kill people. You're on a knowledge run. You're learning schedules, discovering secrets, listening to conversations, and figuring out how to manipulate events and people to line up all your targets like dominoes for one perfect final loop. The gameplay is a sublime mix of supernatural powers, incredibly creative gunplay, and satisfying stealth that gives you total freedom to approach any situation however you see fit. But the greatest threat isn't any of the targets. It's Juliana, a rival assassin dedicated to protecting the loop, who can be controlled by another player invading your game at any time, turning your calculated run into a desperate, paranoid duel. Deathloop respects your intelligence and trusts you to solve its grand mystery on your own terms. It's one of the most inventive and purely fun single-player experiences of this generation. And now we enter the top 5. The Legends. Kicking it off at number 5 is the game that didn't just take the world by storm, it conquered it. The game that redefined what an open world could be. From the masterminds at From Software, this is their magnum opus, Elden Ring. You are tarnished, an exile long since banished, called back to the lands between to seek the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. What follows is, without exaggeration, one of the greatest and most epic journeys in the history of video games. The undisputed genius of Elden Ring is its world. The lands between is a place of such breathtaking scale, haunting beauty, and profound mystery that it beggars belief. And it does not hold your hand. There are no checklists. There are no towers to climb to reveal a map cluttered with icons. The game trusts you. It respects your intelligence. It simply presents you with a world, a glowing Erd tree on the horizon, and a mysterious castle ruin in the distance, and lets your own curiosity be your guide. The sense of pure, unadulterated discovery in this game is unparalleled. Every cave, every catacomb, every corner of this colossal map hides a secret, a new weapon, a terrifying boss. The combat is the ultimate refinement of the classic From Software formula. It is brutally challenging, it is punishing, but it is always fair. And with the massive, universally praised Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion, adding an entirely new realm to explore, Elden Ring is a colossal, staggering achievement that will gladly consume hundreds of hours of your life. It is a modern masterpiece, an instant classic, and an adventure that will be revered for decades to come. At number 4 is the single greatest redemption story in modern gaming. A game that rose from the ashes of a disastrous launch to become one of the most immersive, compelling, and brilliant single-player RPGs ever made. I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077. We all remember the launch. It was a catastrophe. But CD Projekt Red did something rare. They committed. They spent years fixing, overhauling, and expanding the game. The result, and especially after the game-changing 2.0 update and the absolutely phenomenal Phantom Liberty expansion, is nothing short of a triumph. You are V, a mercenary trying to make it in the dystopian, futuristic metropolis of Night City. After a heist goes sideways, you wind up with the digital ghost of long-dead rockstar terrorist Johnny Silverhand, played by the legendary Keanu Reeves, living in your head. And Night City, my God, Night City is the real star of the show. It is a dense, vertical, and unbelievably detailed open world that feels truly, tangibly alive. The first-person perspective delivers a level of immersion that is simply unmatched. But it's the quests, the stories, that elevate this game into the stratosphere. These aren't simple fetch quests. They are deeply personal, character-driven dramas exploring heavy themes of transhumanism, corporate tyranny, and what it truly means to be human in a world that wants to strip your humanity away. With a full sequel, codenamed Project Orion, officially in the works, the future for this universe is brighter than ever. In its current glorious state, Cyberpunk 2077 is an absolute masterpiece and a must-play narrative FPS. Breaking into the top 3 is a game that is bold, bizarre, beautiful, and an absolute masterpiece of psychological survival horror. At number 3, it's Alan Wake 2. 13 long years after the original cult classic, Remedy Entertainment delivered a sequel that doesn't just meet expectations, it shatters them, chews them up, and redefines what a horror game can even be. The story is a twisted, mind-bending meta-narrative that is unlike anything else. You play as two protagonists, Saga Anderson and a brilliant FBI agent investigating a series of ritualistic murders in the familiar town of Bright Falls, and Alan Wake himself, a writer who has been trapped in the nightmarish dimension known as the Dark Place for over a decade. You can switch between their two campaigns almost at will, watching in awe as their separate realities bleed into one another in shocking and brilliant ways. And make no mistake, this is true survival horror. Ammo is painfully scarce, the shadow-drenched enemies are terrifying, and the atmosphere is so thick with dread it's practically suffocating. But it's the sheer, unbridled creativity that sets this game apart. As Alan, you can literally find new story ideas and rewrite reality around you. As Saga, you retreat into your mind place, a mental construct where you piece together clues on a detective's caseboard. The game fearlessly and seamlessly blends its gameplay with stunning live-action footage, a full-blown musical number, and constant fourth-wall-breaking moments that will have you questioning what is real. With the fantastic Night Springs DLC already out and the Lake House on the way, the world of Alan Wake 2 is a stunning, unforgettable, and genre-bending work of art. At the number 2 spot is the ultimate superhero power fantasy, a game that understands its characters so perfectly and delivers on its promise so completely that it is simply a joy to play. It's Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Insomniac Games took the phenomenal foundation of the first 2 games and created a sequel that is bigger, better, faster, and far more emotionally resonant. The ability to seamlessly switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales on the fly is a genuine game changer, not just for gameplay but for storytelling. And the traversal. My God, the traversal is, once again, the best in the business, period. The web swinging is faster and more fluid than ever, but the addition of the web wings, which let you glide through the air currents between skyscrapers, elevates it to a whole new level. You aren't just swinging, you're practically flying. The core story revolves around the arrival of Kraven the Hunter, who turns New York into his personal hunting ground, and of course the alien symbiote which bonds with Peter and slowly transforms him into a darker, angrier, and more brutal version of himself. The narrative is an absolute masterclass, expertly balancing spectacular, high-stakes blockbuster action with deeply personal, quiet, character-driven moments, especially the complex and heartbreaking relationship between Peter and his best friend, Harry Osborn. The DualSense integration pulls you in like never before, simulating the thwip of your web shooters and the alien tension of the symbiote tendrils. From start to finish, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is pure, unadulterated bliss. It is a spectacular, cinematic, and deeply heartfelt adventure that stands as the definitive Spider-Man experience. And here we are, the number 1 spot, the undisputed champion, the absolute titan of the RPG genre, and the single most essential solo adventure you can have on your PlayStation 5. It is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is the second chapter in the impossibly ambitious project to remake one of the most beloved and important video games of all time. And it is a staggering, monumental achievement. Picking up immediately after the party escapes Midgar and Remake, Cloud and his friends step out into the wider world for the first time. And Rebirth takes the linear, corridor-based design of its predecessor and smashes it to pieces, transforming the journey into a massive, sprawling, truly open world that is begging you to get lost in it. From the industrial might of Junon to the sun-drenched beaches of Costa del Sol, the world is vast, vibrant, and absolutely jam-packed with meaningful, rewarding content. The combat is a brilliant evolution of the first game's system, blending fast-paced action with deep strategic commands and adding incredible cinematic team-up attacks called synergy abilities. But the heart, the soul, the very essence of Rebirth is its characters and its story. The game takes its time, letting you live with this party, deepening the bonds between them through dialogue choices and side quests that directly impact your relationships. Now, the narrative itself is a masterful retelling, unafraid to expand on the original's lore, to delve deeper into character motivations, and to make bold, shocking, audacious changes that will have even die-hard, lifelong fans on the absolute edge of their seats. With the final part of this legendary trilogy now in development, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stands as a game of breathtaking scope, profound emotional resonance, and pure, unadulterated fun. It is a modern masterpiece and the single best reason to own a PS5. And that is the list. That is the gospel. 20 undeniable, essential single-player games that define what the PlayStation 5 is all about. From soul-crushing horror and epic role-playing games to stylish, brutal action and pure superhero fantasy, the sheer quality and variety of solo experiences on this console is simply staggering. But now I've had my say, and I need to hear from you. Get down in those comments and tell me what you thought of the list. What absolute masterpiece did I criminally overlook? What's your personal undisputed #1 game on the PS5? Let me know, and don't be shy about it. We read every single comment. If you appreciated this sermon on single-player gaming, do me a huge favor and obliterate that like button. It seriously helps the channel, and if you want to stay up to date on all the best games that respect your time and your intelligence, then smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a time loop to punch in the face.